Welcome to the Audio Spells production of Journeys of the Astropaths, Michael. I'm Robin, and we are ecstatic to bring you this show. Please help us grow by subscribing, 5-star reviews, liking, sharing, and commenting wherever you enjoy your podcasts. For more information and our full credits, please visit www.theastropaths.com or search Journeys of the Astropaths on Facebook. And now, let us cast you a spell.
I woke up first thing this morning and wanted to go right up here in the library and get to work on this silly recorder. I think maybe I'm finding my groove. Maybe I can get a lot done too, because I got a great night's sleep. I'm not a big sleeper by nature. I wasn't before I became an astropath, and certainly am not one now. My usual sleep would be about 4 or 5 hours a night or day. When I'm tired, I sleep, but whether that is night or day doesn't matter in the least to me. I mean, when you're a globetrotter like myself, what is night or day? If I'm sipping noodle soup in Taiwan, it may be morning there, but it would be the middle of the night back here in Colorado. After a while, living the life, I just respond to my body and don't worry too much about the Earth's journey around the sun. So, Calcutta. I learned 2 very important things during this sojourn. Well, I mean 2 important things about the life of an astropath. I also saw Calcutta for the first time, and that was nearly as shocking as learning I could transport myself there with my mind. The best way for this Colorado boy to describe it is an avalanche of sensory overload. It begins, as you may expect, in the nose, where dry heat sends odoriferous waves at you from every direction. Food, exhaust, smoke, laundry, dirt, people, it all wafts about in a swirl of varying intensity. From the nose, the avalanche builds to the ears, where the sounds of car horns, modern and ancient, creaking carts and cars, motorcycle engines, modern and ancient, people seemingly everywhere in modern and ancient garb, or a blend of both, and everyone seemed to be talking or laughing or coughing or sneezing, but no one was silent. That seemed to be a crime. I pinballed my way, either bouncing off or slipping around the throng that seemed to flow like a river down this street. It was exciting. The stink, the chaos, the exoticness was giving me an energy buzz, and I really just wanted to stop and soak it all in. But Marlow was moving fast. If it wasn't for him being a head taller than nearly everybody around him, I might have lost him in the crowd. I dodged the front wheel of a motorcycle with 3 teenage boys squeezed on it. I turned to see all 3 of them smiling at me and suddenly felt the firm grip of Marlow on my shoulder before he jerked me out of the path of a fast-moving little rust bucket of a car. "He who hesitates is lost," Marlow said. "Thanks." I got distracted. He motioned for us to keep moving. "Don't do that. It's dangerous." We arrived at a restaurant that occupied 2 lots. One was a brick front of an old colonial building where customers were squeezing in through a small double door. The lot next to the restaurant was the ruins of a building that had, at some time, maybe 10 years in the past or maybe 50, come down, for the most part. but still a few columns and walls existed, but none higher than, say, 4 feet. The floor of this building, dark brick or brick covered in years of grime, had weathered well, and good Indian practicality, this floor had become an outdoor courtyard with makeshift tables of anything from cheap metal to crates to actual stylish iron. There was a flow to the restaurant. You had to go through the main door of the still-standing building, place your order at a counter, then shoulder your way to a table and wait for your food. This is the place, I asked, peering at it through American eyes. There are restaurants on every corner of every street here, so to find the best food, one must look for the biggest crowd. That is here. I nodded that made some sense, but I was skeptical. And no, he answered without me asking. This is the old part of town. The modern section could rival any city in Asia, but the food there is too sanitary, and we've come for the authentic experience. We'll be having kata rolls and some chai to wash it down. We pressed into the restaurant. Everyone was excited to be there. It was evening on this part of the world, sun not set, but everyone was gathering for the evening meal. Some were taking food out with them, but most were hunting for seats in the courtyard. It was too noisy for us to talk, so Marlow utilized his telepathy to tell me what to do. Go on out to the courtyard. I'll take care of ordering, and I doubt you have any rupees to pay, so I'll take care of that too. And when you get out there, look for a rather simply dressed woman of American descent. She'll be in a tan skirt, a white blouse, and she'll have a silk scarf of chartreuse green on her shoulders. Sit with her and wait for me. Then he moved away from me, and despite my mind asking for clarification, I decided to just go because he was swept up in a thrust of customers all headed for the counter. Behind that counter, I could see 4 giant metal woks being worked with long cooking spatulas. Grease popped, and the spatulas scraped across the metal, stirring delicious, made-to-order delicacies for customers who observe this preparation with great anticipation. The courtyard was a bit less intense. I'd be lying if during this journey, and truthfully all of my early journeys, it didn't constantly cross my mind that none of this was real, that I was trapped in some kind of a dream or ongoing hallucination. Perhaps I was the one in a coma, laying in a hospital, and Cassandra was the lone survivor. But then one thing was certain. Even if it wasn't real, it was awesome. Life was always supposed to be an adventure, and now mine was becoming one. I heard a voice. It sounded more like a whisper. "Michael, I'm over here." I turned to see a woman in her late 40s, dressed exactly as Marlow had detailed, more than 50 yards away from me, waving the end of her silk scarf at me as if we were old friends. "That's me. Come along." She was using telepathy. She was one of us. I arrived at her table. "Marlow is getting our food," I told her. "Yes," he informed me. "Please, take a seat." "He was right about you. You're a spark thrower. That's near bursting into flames." I sat down. "He didn't mention you," I said awkwardly. She reached her hand in my direction, letting go of the scarf and extending her delicate hand to me. "My name is Candice. I'm American, like you, born in Berkley, California, although I haven't been back that way in a very long time." I shook her hand gently. "Where do you live now?" I asked. Her eyes squinted as her defenses went up. She withdrew her hand and pulled back. "Here, there, nowhere you need to know, Michael." Now, I was filled with all kinds of uncomfortable vibes. I was looking around for Marlow, but he was still inside. Sorry if I made you feel uncomfortable, but where an astropath hides their body is rather an intimate question. None of that should matter between us. I'd guess we will never meet in person, but we may meet many times while projecting. I nodded that I understood. Thanks for the advice. I get your point. Huh. Not yet you don't, she corrected me. But you will. A silence fell over us after that, while we waited for Marlow to bridge the lack of compatibility between us. It may have been only minutes, but I felt as though Marlow had been gone half an hour or more. When he finally arrived, he had only our drinks in hand. Here's some chai. The food will be out momentarily. Trust me, it will be worth the wait, he said. Candice thought something in private to Marlow. Rude, Candice. Michael is already feeling uneasy. Whatever you want to say it for the group. She wrinkled her nose up at him. I was only saying, you seem young for 25, and that I didn't know if you were ready to be out in the world so far from home, she admitted. Nothing hostile, just my assessment of things as they stand. I'm his teacher, and I need him to spread his wings. And unlike Icarus, if he flies too high and those wings melt in the sun, I'll be there to catch him. Candice smiled. Always so noble, Marlow. But that nobility may get you into trouble someday. Rumors are the Whistler has been haunting some places you frequent. Marlow took a sip of his chai. It's a free planet for all of us, he told her. Yes, but he never stops whistling Clair de Lune and attends a jazz festival in Milan, one you haven't missed in a decade. You sure he's not looking for you? If he likes Debussy, he can't be all bad, I interjected. Both of them looked at me with surprise. You're far too young to know this piano piece, Candice accused. Come on, they don't call it a classic because it fades away. It's a classic. I am not a big fan of all his work, but Clair de Lune is breathtaking if played well. Marlow turned his nose. Puts me to sleep. I'm a jazz man myself, or blues can do in a pinch. Candice rolled her eyes at them. You're both crazy. Give me Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix till the day I die. Marlow smiled and said, You see, we're all music haters. Everyone else's music is crap. We have that in common, and there is that we are all astropaths. So that is more than enough. The food arrived, and it was the most unique of flavor I'd ever tasted. Basically, kate rolls are a thin pita wrap with chicken in small chunks, onions, splashes of lemon with some masala, and then rolled with love and tradition. Marlow had ordered extra spicy, and within 2 bites, I had tears rolling down my face. But this kind of flavor was amazing. Such a singular blend, and I'm sure there were a few things in it I could not name, such as a kind of fried pepper or something, but I was enjoying too much to worry about how the flavor was constructed. I just wanted more of it. The mistake I made was drinking my chai. It was in a pretty small cup. In one drink, after I took my first bite, I downed it. I had nothing to combat the fire in my mouth, but couldn't stop myself from endeavoring on. As I wolfed down my last bite, I glanced at Marlow, who was equally enjoying his food. Without thinking, I thought to Candice instead of speaking. You don't like Indian food? She silently fired back. Not a big fan, no, but watching you two gobble and sweat is sure a treat. Marlow broke the silence by saying, I want Michael to meet another astropath. You wanted to talk with me. Here we are. Now go ahead and tell me about Clarence." "Who is," I tried to ask, but she cut me off. "The Whistler. He needs to be dealt with, Marlow. If you and your Italian mentor don't deal with it, then who is safe?" "Has he threatened you directly?" he asked her. "He's a killer. He kills for a living. He's dangerous and I think he's losing his mind. It happens, Marlow. The power, the control, and the killing. Someone needs to step in." I could not read Marlow's thoughts, but I knew he was conflicted. I think he had expected a more jovial meeting, or he probably wouldn't have brought me along. He'd also, despite mentioning it, forgotten my giving off sparks, and this would come back to haunt us. Candice had said her piece. "I've got places to be, Marlow. It was interesting meeting you, Michael. Good luck with your new life." She stepped away from our table and bent low into the shadow of a half wall. It was twilight, and as the lights were still a few minutes from being turned on, just strings of bulbs really that gave very little steady light anyway, nobody noticed when she vanished. "Well, you met Candice," Marlow said. "She's really not all bad, just a bit concerned about things at the moment, and myopic when she gets like this. How are you feeling?" He'd noticed an ebb in my concentration. "Maybe a bit weak." He quickly checked his watch. "You've been out over an hour. 5 minutes past, to be exact. Impressive, really, for such a short Qigong session. But perhaps we'd best..." Before he could finish his sentence, I heard it. It was a beautiful rendition, if I'm perfectly honest, and in those days, before I knew the true meaning of it, I was impressed. "Return to your body," Marlow ordered. "Now!" Marlow was out of his chair and on his feet in a flash. His right hand had produced a dagger, and he was in a fighting position. "Now!" he repeated. I came to my senses, pictured my body in my apartment in Denver. Before I left, I heard the song end and the sharp clang of metal on metal. What were the 2 lessons I learned that day? Number 1, not all astropaths are friends. Despite being kindred spirits, there were rogues out there, dangerous astropaths, and I needed to learn how to block them. Number 2, I learned astropaths carry knives. Marlow returned a few minutes later. I waited for him with dread that something horrible might have happened, something deadly, and feeling as though perhaps it was all my fault. When he arrived, he looked at me and said, "You need to come stay with me in Chicago for a while. I'll pay off your gambling debt and send you a ticket. Clarence is unstable. He doesn't know where you are, but we need to ramp up your training, and the safest place to do that is in my home." That crazy bastard nearly took my head off with his first swing. "Don't worry. I have plenty of room in my home, and you'll have plenty of privacy for your fast dates." I wanted to stay out of my mind, but I knew his answer, and I felt deep down he was absolutely right. It was not a logical conclusion, but I knew it deep in my soul. "I'll pack," I said. "Actually, don't bother. I'll take you shopping. Your attire is beneath a man of your age. Just get to the airport. The ticket will be waiting. I've got your account number. I'll send you $500. Pay him the $450 you owe, use $50 for a nice dinner, and get on that flight. I'll be waiting for you when you arrive in Chicago."